Business for me has never been about being transactional. For me, business is about building relationships. Transactional and business is a byproduct of great relationships. When I saw the watches of SP, I realized that this is for a completely different target group. It is not for something to sell only from conventional watch shops. Wholesaling is not just about buying a product and selling a product. Retailing is not about buying a product cheap from a wholesaler and putting it there. Every product, every collection has to have a DNA. It should be like your child. So we always said we are a corporate with very strong family values. Okay, so we've run this business always like a corporate.
You are an excellent host, and I enjoyed your hospitality not only minutes before but even earlier. And believe me, Biren, when I was associated with the watch industry, the distributors used to praise you. Not just your distributors, the retailers used to sell the brands which you distributed, Carrera and Pierre Cardin, Esprit. They used to wait for Biren to announce that incentive trips, because you used to take them abroad to exotic places and not just take them but give them a wonderful experience. So was it, did you cultivate your hospitality, or you are a born host? Let it number one, and say, I'll club the second question also. How did watches happen? So these two questions I want you to answer.
So firstly, to answer the question about the retailers, etc. One of the things that when we started our business, it's always been about relationship. Business for me has never been about being transactional. For me, business is about building relationships. Transactional and business is a byproduct of great relationships. And I was explaining to you some time ago about my relationships with my customers even after 40 years now, and how they feel a part of Rose, as a part of the family, they feel ownership. So whenever I did anything, whether it is my partners in supply, whether it's my family working here, which I call the Race family, or the partners in my customers, they're all a part of the one family called Race, and it's all about having great relationships with them. If they all feel ownership, then you are not alone. And it's never been about I, it's always been about we and us. And it is with God's kindness, elders' blessings, love of friends, family, and patrons, and these partnerships. That's what builds things in life. That's how legacies are built. And answering your second question, in 1996, Interboard had brought Igana as a joint venture to India. And they were trying to set up the Indian market. And while they were doing it, between 96 and 99, they had 3 failures in the market, and they were just not able to get a hand on it. So Interboard said, we are the largest exporters of jewelry, this is not our line, why are we getting into it? We wanted to move out, and due to the connections I had, and I had made a small report for them, because my brother-in-law at that time was the managing director. He had asked me to look into what the problem was. I made a small report for Igana and the Interpol team as to what is the problem with the Indian market, because I was very deep into distribution and wholesaling of jewelry in India. So they already knew that I had that skill set, and they wanted to understand why. They didn't ask me to do it, but I made a small report, a white paper, on what they should do. Just as something, whenever I take on anything, I like to give a complete answer. I don't like to give a half answer. So I gave them the full answer. And the Interpol decided this is not our field. Igana wanted to continue because they're multinational and they saw India as a potential. So they asked me at that point in time whether I would be interested. So I was very interested in doing jewelry with them because they had international jewelry brands. And they said, no, we have got our watches here. Start with the watches, then we will talk about the jewels. And so I said that I didn't know anything about watches. He said, we were India, you were distribution, you were marketing. These are the 3 things that we don't know here in India. So that's what you bring to the table. we'll bring the knowledge of watches. And I said, but I'd like to learn it. I said, anytime you can come, sit in our factories and learn what you want. That began the journey. And when I saw the watches of SP, I realized that this is for a completely different target group. It is not for something to sell only from conventional watch shops. So the first 50 stores I started, there were only 18 watch stores. The other 32 were gift stores, hairdressing salons, fashion stores, departmental stores, and all different options. And the beauty of it is these non-conventional outlets, as they called them later, became a benchmark for selling fashion in watches.
Very true.
And that's how my journey began in watches. But like I said, my journey in jewelry began in 84 as an intern, 86 as an artisan, and I ran a very, very good wholesale manufacturing business, and I yet do, which is called Rose B2B, till date, and we do a very unique positioning. I come up with my own collections for the wholesale market. I give them everything from design, concept, product, and marketing. So I didn't just manufacture for them. I give them the whole storyline. And this I did right from the beginning. Because wholesaling is not just about buying a product and selling a product. Retailing is not about buying a product cheap from a wholesaler and putting it there. Every product, every collection has to have a DNA. It should be like your child. So for me, each one of my collections are like my children, Arjun and Karan, or Divya and Aarti. They have to have a DNA. And that DNA has to be passed on to the next point of sale in the channel.
So I'm glad you mentioned your son's names. We have superstars in your family, equivalent of Salman Khan and Shah Rukh Khan, Karan Arjun.
Well, Arjun was 91, Karan was 93, Karan Arjun Nandini was 95.
I know.
So it has nothing to do with that.
So, we're coming to the luxury part. When did your tryst with international luxury start? And most importantly, you mentioned distribution, wholesale and retail. While academically, it is very easy for one to say that these are the characteristics of wholesale business, this is the characteristic of retail business, both are based on the foundation of trust. It is all easier said than done. But very few people have been able to do it. And it requires a change in mindset and focus. So how was the journey? How did you change your mindset, number one? And which was the first international luxury brand that you started retailing? So please run us through that part of your games.
You need to say Rose, when he started, besides Rose, what were the other?
Who's the brand? Your tryst with international luxury brands.
So, first I'll answer that first part of the question that you told me about the distribution and selling in what, how does it differentiate? It's very easy to say and difficult to do. So for me, all this is a very simple way to do it. I was asked this question in one of the seminars that I was speaking for Shoppers Stop. How do you sell luxury? It's very easy to say that train people, put them to classes, but how do you sell it? The answer is similar to what you are saying right now. So the answer to when you're saying is how do you do this business, distribution, sales, retail, all in one? You have to learn to make it your life. You have to live it. If you live it, you love it, then you can do it or sell it. So luxury also, you have to live it, love it or sell it. Even distribution. There's one thing that we'll see, the difference between a distributor and a great distributor. A distributor will just take his product and put it there. If it sells, it sells. If it doesn't sell, nahi, aapka maal nahi bikta hai. The good distributor will not only understand the product, have knowledge, he'll live the product, he will own it. Ownership of anything you do in life is very important. It's a very nice thing that I saw again in the movie with Kapil Dev had said during the 83 World Cup. He didn't say, I will try. We will. When you decide that you want to own it, then you will. Then give yourself options. That's how I live life.
Tell us about luxury retail watches.
So watches or jewelry? I mean, for my first stuff.
International.
Yeah, so my first love is jewelry, let me tell you that.
Yeah.
And I started going to Basel to see jewelry and met all the luxury jewelry brands and then watch brands. Watch brands actually were allowed into India before jewelry brands were. So by default, I got into the watch brands. So how did it happen? Since 89, I'm going there. I will be meeting all these people who are managers now, who are CEOs and managing directors or brand owners. At that time, they were managers in companies of luxury brands, etc. And all of them would come and ask me, "What are you doing here? India is a closed market." So I said, "I'm coming to meet you guys. And I'm going to tell you what's happening in India every year, what's happening at Rose, and I'm going to give you a small leaflet on the same and a photo of myself." So all of them used to laugh, including my wife used to be embarrassed. "Why do you give your photo?" So I said that one day when India opens,
They'll come to me.
you'll remember my face.
Okay.
So much so that from 1989 to 1999, they nicknamed me Mr. Photo. And we used to go for coffees together, we used to have lunches together, just because we became friends. Again, it was relationships, nothing else. So when we started the first luxury brand here in India, I actually started, strangely, two luxury brands at the same time. One was Tag Heuer because of Jean-Christophe Babin. He walked into Rose and he says, "You know what? And he saw the experience, the jewelry store.
We were talking about Breach Candy store?
The Breach Candy store. And he saw that and he's telling me, "This is where we should be selling watches too." I said, "No, but this is a jewelry store and Tag Heuer doesn't fit into this category for me." He says, "Every luxury customer will want to gift a tag. The first watch he want to give his child is a tag. So you keep it. I'm not moving till you agree." And that's how I started with Tag. And then Frank Miller had a long relationship even before that. He says, "I've been telling you, if you're starting watch business," I say, "I'm going to start with Tag." He said, "You start with Frank Miller."
So what about two brands you started?
The two brands I started in Rose.
As a retailer or also
As a retailer, and for Frank Miller, I was distributing at that time. But it was very, very interesting.
So I'm glad you mentioned Tag Heuer. We were talking about LVMH a little while ago. See, luxury is a very relish business. But if you see the richest man in the world, when the list comes, it is either Bernard Arnault or Jeff Bezos, the alternative. Right now, the business of luxury is not doing too well. So he may be number 2 or number 3, but he always sometimes will be the number 1. Bezos will be on the. So having said that, how would you describe the current state of luxury business? The personal luxury, like watches, jewelry, do bags and other products. But how
I
I
miss that life, so it's okay.
so how would you describe that?
So firstly,
Current situation.
let me tell you one thing. I've been in the fashion side also, and I've been in the luxury side, as you know. One of the things that I'll tell you is luxury does well during progression and during recession equally. Why? Because during progression, somebody is making money, right? And during recession also, somebody is definitely making money. What one forgets is the person who's making money has changed. So it is your outlook to figure out how to move. Now, the smaller the ship, it's easier to maneuver faster. The bigger the ship, it's more difficult. So, for example, for a big ship that's a big group like LV, let's say for them a market like China is huge, they're invested in it, and that ship suddenly there's a slowdown. So, of course, it will affect them. But there is someone else making money in India. So now to pivot from China to India will take them time, but somebody, they already smelt it. And they know. So for me, luxury doesn't have a slowdown. Whether you're small, medium or large, if you're in the luxury space, the only thing is you need to know and pivot fast to know who's making the money and who we need to address it to. In the early days, it was the Maharajas. In the new days, the Maharajas are industrialists, investors, bankers. So there's always a pivot. You can't keep waiting to see that, oh, this was working then, what's working now? And every 2 decades, the generation changes. So when the generation changes, you have to reinvent yourself to stay relevant. So every luxury brand has the process of reinventing itself.
So, as far as India is concerned, Indian market is concerned, how do you see the prospects?
Well, I think that India's next 5, 6 years are definitely going to be very good. And economically, we are going to really grow. We are seeing just the place where maybe 2 decades ago, we said, what are the cities in India? You would say Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, Hyderabad, Chennai, Bangalore. Now, when you say, what are the cities in India? I mean, you can go to 150 cities that are in the reckoning and moving fast. So can you imagine if there are 300 cities, by the time you get the pace of just inorganic growth, you're already successful. You don't even need to wait for organic growth. You don't have to wait for the Mumbai stock to grow by 10% or 20%. You have multiple cities opening up. So your inorganic growth is huge.
So, you have shop and shop business also in Doha and Dubai. You mentioned a little while ago. I think there are 5 shop and shops.
No, we are in 3.
3. So, what do you sell from there? Jewelry or what?
Jewelry. Rose is our jewelry. For the Rose Group, 75% of our business in luxury is jewelry. So, and we are going to be moving into other categories, including watches as a brand itself. But we are also great. Now, when we talk about watches, we are going to be more bespoke, more high-end, where our characters of our brands come in. But that's a while away. But a lot of other categories we're moving into to make the brand more 360 as the next generation comes. It's my part is closed here. But as a jewelry brand, we are really recognized very strongly in the Middle East. We are recognized very strongly in India. And I think between these markets, there is enough growth potential right now. And the world is looking at these 2 markets. So therefore, I am too.
So, if you talk about the department store business, they are passing through a tough time. And so, how do you see the prospects of the departmental store in general? And more specifically, Galeries Lafayette is going to open its first Mumbai, India stores in Mumbai.
That's correct.
Not very far from here. And I think Aditya Birla has partnered with them. You also have competition from Ambani's, from Tata's. So, what is your unique niche? Because today, what has happened in the retail business, it has become complex business, technology driven, you need scale. So obviously, you know your business, but all you today have 2 stores. So how do you want to scale up your business and go public? So what is your plan taking this business forward?
So to be very honest with you, one, we're a very conservative company. And so we always look not only at the top line, but also at the bottom line. They have a strategy chalked out for the next 5 years. Okay. In form of what we want to do. What we can do is not in my hands or your hands or anyone's hands or even a banker's hands. It's in the Almighty's hands. Because I truly believe the chairman of our company is the Almighty. And with the kindness of the Almighty and the elders' blessings and love of friends, family and patrons, that's what really brings the destiny. Of course, hard work goes with it, and strategy is a part of that hard work. So the way we look at it is, if you see this model closely, they have created different models within our group. So whether it was in the fashion category, whether it was in the mid category, or now we are focusing more on the luxury category, we've always had SOPs, models and structures in place. So we always said we are a corporate with very strong family values. Okay, so we've run this business always like a corporate, because that's a great learning I had, and the business had to be independent of everybody, including me. So if you see the structure of the business, it has been created that way, irrespective of whether we want to go IP or not. It's been there for over 3 decades like this. Before we were too small, so we didn't need to have that kind of structure. But we kept on keeping the structure growing and getting more and more into SOPs. You spending money on getting, SOP audits done, spending money on getting technology in place, all that at the back end. But at the front thing, the way we've created a model, the House of Rose is a full experiential uh, destination. Now, if depending on how we grow, the race Salo can grow differently, which was already existing in Breach Candy. So that's a separate model. We have the watch bar, which is a separate model. It can go together as the House of Rose. We have also the concept of taking our jewelry business into the shop-in-shop concept, which in India, unfortunately, jewelers and high-end watch retailers have not understood that they can do for an Indian brand like Rose what they are doing for a international brand, whether it's Chopard, Cartier, Bulgari, and any of them. We could do the same thing with an Indian man. That's what we are getting ready for. And I see that what we have to offer is much more. And it will happen. If not in India, in the Middle East or wherever. But I'm definite that today I see a potential of from a wholesale business of taking the brand, not just commoditizing the product, but taking the brand, giving the experience. They will also enjoy it more because all our marketing fruits can be shared with all these retailers. Then we also look at this whole concept of taking this House of Rose to other cities. We have already made a plan. We have a rollout for it. But I always say, for a rollout like this, you don't go to find a place. The place finds you.
True, very true. Very well said. So these days, no discussion can be complete without the mention of Gen Z. So I was recently watching an interview of featuring Vivian Nair. She is the CEO of Chanel, which is one of the most respected luxury brands in the world. So she mentioned in the particular interview that by the year 2030, 30% of the business in luxury will be, the consumers will be the Gen Z. So I just want to be a little bit granular. You also mentioned Gen Z and the youngsters are liking your products, your entire experience part of it. So I have just want to be a little bit clear. Are we talking about the potential of Gen Z? Because the youngest Gen Z is only 12 years old. The eldest Gen Z is around 27, 28. So does it mean that the Gen Zs are warming up to the idea? Because all said and done, well, they may be doing well, but their spending power is rather limited. So what is your take on Gen Z in the Indian context?
Okay, I give you some really shocking information. I cannot say data because it is not, it's not coming from one of those reports.
Okay.
But this is actual data, live, what I am seeing happening on my shop floor. Okay. What in 2015-16, I realized that the average age of Rose's customer was crossing 40.
40.
Okay, so now when it's happening in that way, you have to start becoming cautious because your brand can then stagnate and be a brand of the past. Like wearing my parents' generation, the brand Burberry was very strong for its trench coat. Our generation, it stagnated, probably disappeared. Then this young lady who came in as CEO, she created a whole new experience at the stores. Made it young, made it cool. And then that same trench coat became young, cool and sexy. And she just tweaked the designs and here we go again. So in the same way, when I realized that the average age was going up, I had to sit down on the shop floor and figure out that is the reason why the younger generation is not looking at us. And then you realize, and at the category of jewelry, the jewelry category in 2003 was number 2. In 2013, it was number 11. The market had grown, but the thought process was many other things that coming for the spend. Bags, travel, wine, you name it. And even in the categories of things that property had become palaces. So there was a big shift in that decade. And I realized that what's happening to this generation, I need to understand. So I had to sit on the shop floor. I'd see the parents looking at jewelry, the young bride on her phone, smiling, and the mother asked, what do you think? Whatever they decide, it's okay. Disinterested. And that was a big issue for me. So when I realized that, I started communicating with them. I started communicating with my kids' friends. I learned to understand. And to my surprise, I realized they were far more decided them what they wanted. They were far more clearer and far more knowledgeable and far more experienced in jewelry than their parents were. But they knew when parents are, they want to buy all this branded, jewelry and stuff, and they don't want to spend. So they had a very clear-cut idea of what they want to do for daily wear and what they wanted for their high-end jewelry. They understood gems. Their parents would only understand diamonds. They understood emeralds, they understood rubies, they understood tanzanites, they understood pearls. They had all the knowledge. And they wanted that. And they wanted to find the place where they could relate to and have the trust to get the right kind of thing, which in their mind was not available here. Because their perception of the local jeweler was very different. That's why has given birth to the House of Rose. And here I can tell you, the customer base is now, for me, the customer base of the Gen Z is nearly double digit. Value-wise, the money that they're spending here is definitely double digit.
So I just want a little clarity on the, when you give the example of mother and daughter.
And I'll tell you this, no, I'll tell you this. I had at the opening a patron and her son was in school. And he was helping his mother choose importantly gems and watches. And he had knowledge of gems that I think 70% of the people who came that day did not have. He knew what a Paraiba tourmaline was. Okay, just to be an example, how it came from, what are the characteristics. And he's not even buying jewelry. So this generation is very knowledgeable. They will buy the everyday fun, aspirational stuff, but they will buy asset class. But they need to be convinced that we have the knowledge to sell it.
And what about the money? Because the money is limited.
Today it's limited, but when you're talking about the HNIs, they have the money.
Oh, okay, great.
These kids buy 2 lakh rupee shoes. Okay, they trade in shoes. They know how to do this business. So this Gen Z, at the age of 14, 15, are trading and making money enough to buy watches or jewelry for themselves.
Okay.
So they're entrepreneurs.
That's a new insight for me.
Yeah, so these kids, if you start actually understanding them, they're very, very clear about what they are doing. If someone told me today, buy 3.5 lakh rupees, putting a pair of sneakers, you'll say, are you joking? They buy it and flip it for 3. And they made while you're talking on the phone. They're that fast, that sharp. Okay, when we talk about gems, if they don't know something or you're incorrect, they'll show you this is wrong.
Interesting. See, today,
So that's when you get that trust is very easy. Once you've got it, you're fine.
so lovely talking to you, Biren bhai. Thank you so
There
much.
is all mine. Thank you.